In 1982, Riichi Ezaki, the founder of Glico, resigned and handed over the position of chairman of one of Japan's largest confectionery companies to his son, Katsuhisa Ezaki. 2 years later, a series of strange events shocked Japanese society, a society typically known for its peacefulness. On March 18, 1984, two masked men broke into the Ezaki family home, using a key left at the house of his 70-year-old mother, who lived next door. After breaking in, the two intruders immediately encountered Ezaki's wife and eldest daughter, who were quickly subdued. When asked about money, they bluntly refused and responded, "Money is not related." After finding the director in the bathroom, they quickly kidnapped him and cut the phone lines as they left the house. Eventually, the tied-up individuals managed to free themselves and immediately contacted the police. However, by that time, the kidnappers had already fled, and all they could do was wait for news from them. The next morning, a ransom letter demanding 1 billion yen and 100 kilograms of gold bars was sent to Glico. This contradicted what the kidnappers had told Ezaki's wife and daughter, that money is not related to the kidnapping. But before the ransom could be paid, or even determined if the company was willing to pay it, something surprising happened. Ezaki managed to escape. According to Ezaki, he was locked in a warehouse in Ibaraki City, Osaka Prefecture. When asked how he could escape so easily from the kidnappers, the director said he escaped because the warehouse was completely unguarded. The incident received extensive coverage in the Japanese media, partly because of the victim's prominence and partly because such a brazen home kidnapping was unprecedented in Japan. As for the police, since the perpetrators left no clues or clear motive, they were unable to determine who was behind the incident. And unfortunately, that was not the last time they struck. A few weeks after the kidnapping, on April 10, 1984, several cars in the Glico headquarters parking lot mysteriously caught fire, causing considerable damage to the company's property. Exactly a month later, a threatening letter signed by the monster with 21 faces was found attached to a bottle of acid. Many believe the name was based on the villain from Utagawa Rampo's famous detective novels, The Fiend with 20 Faces. The letter claimed they had laced Glico candies with cyanide and threatened to release the poisoned candies on store shelves. This immediately caused panic within the company, leading to an unprecedented large-scale product recall that cost Glico up to $21 million and resulted in 450 part-time workers being laid off. However, after thoroughly inspecting the products, no poisoned candies were found. After some time, the only clue the police managed to obtain was a video recording showing an unidentified man wearing a Yomiuri Giant's cap placing a Glico chocolate bar on a store shelf before fleeing. Even with this new lead, the investigation yielded no positive results. As a result, those behind the incident became more confident, and they began sending anonymous letters to intimidate the police and the media. One letter, written clearly in the Osaka dialect, mocked the police by outlining the entire method they used to break into the factory. The bizarre letters continued to be sent until June 26th, when the Osaka police received a letter with a simple line, without any details explaining the reason behind the entire incident. As stated in the letter, the terrorist acts targeting Glico finally ceased. After receiving the final letter, the authorities breathed a sigh of relief, believing the criminals might have grown tired and decided to stop their bad actions. But unfortunately for them, that letter only marked the end of the harassment against Glico and did not put an end to the monster's terror. The anonymous criminal organization then shifted its focus to several other confectionery manufacturers, such as Morinaga, Marudai, and even House Food Corporation, all major food companies in Japan. A letter sent to housewives across the country claimed that 21 different packages of Morinaga candy, a popular candy with children, had been poisoned with cyanide, which could cause rapid death. The police immediately mobilized and, fortunately, found all 21 contaminated products before anyone could use them. Strangely, the poisoned candy packages were labeled with a warning saying, "Will die if eaten," indicating that the monster with 21 faces wanted to give the victims a chance to avoid death. But the attack still caused significant financial damage to Morinaga and increased public fear in Japan. After the incident, the monster with 21 faces announced that they would stop all terrorist activities if they received 50 million yen. They demanded that the person carrying the money board the bullet train to Kyoto on June 28th and make the transaction at a designated location along the route marked with a white flag. The money was then gathered and brought on the train along with a disguised police officer who hoped to at least see the suspect. On the train, the officer reported being followed by a mysterious man described as having slit eyes like a fox, who was then dubbed by the police as the Fox-Eyed Man and became the main suspect behind the case. No white flag was seen along the route, and when they arrived at Kyoto Station, the remaining officers began searching for the man matching the description, but the mysterious figure quickly disappeared. In November 1984, the terrorists once again demanded another sum of money worth 100 million yen, which was to be delivered by a delivery vehicle next to a can under a white cloth at a rest stop on the Meishin Expressway in an area called Atsu. A large-scale manhunt was immediately organized with police from several different provinces, including Osaka, Kyoto, and Kobe, all coordinating efforts to capture this monster. The money delivery vehicle, closely followed by investigators, approached the designated stop and found the cloth, but could not see the can mentioned. The police suspected that the monster with 21 faces was simply playing with them and decided to call off the entire manhunt. However, an hour earlier, a patrol car from the local police department in Shiga Prefecture had spotted a suspicious car with its headlights off, but its engine running parked near the white cloth area. When the officer approached, he glimpsed the fox-eyed man wearing a headset connected to a radio before the man sped away. The car was later found abandoned at a train station. Along with the radio equipment, the fox-eyed man had used to eavesdrop on police communications. In December, after the police's unsuccessful manhunt, the monster with 21 faces began to expand its harassment campaign and threatened to poison the products of the famous confectionery company Fujiya. Still, no clues were found, and the police resorted to the public, issuing wanted posters with sketches of the fox-eyed man, whom they considered the key to solving the case, but still could not find any information. After some time without any leads, the Japanese police began to focus on an arrest involving a man named Miyazaki Manabu, who had exposed Glico's industrial waste, dumping into the Osaka River in 1975. He was also responsible for a union leader's resignation. Due to accounting irregularities involving Glico, Miyazaki became a suspect because the police believed a recording he made at that time had a tone very similar to the mysterious letters from the monster with 21 faces. Moreover, Miyazaki's father was a local Yakuza boss, and he also happened to resemble the fox-eyed man. The media then widely reported that Miyazaki was the mysterious figure behind the monster. But eventually, his alibi was confirmed, forcing the police to release him, and the investigation once again hit a dead end. The case of the monster with 21 faces attracted significant attention from both Japanese and international media. It served as a wake-up call, making a society known for its peace and safety start to be seen as a dangerous place due to these violent criminals. Amid heavy media criticism of the police's ineffectiveness in handling the case, a tragedy occurred in August 1985 when the Shiga Prefecture police chief, Yamamoto, self-immolated under extreme pressure. This was a shock to all of Japanese society, creating an unprecedented media frenzy in the country. The suicide led to a letter from the monster with 21 faces sent about 5 days later, containing the following content. These were also the last words from this criminal, and since then, no one has heard anything from this monster again. Although the investigation period for the case ended in June 1995, the mysteries surrounding the monster with 21 faces continue to fuel much debate about the identity of the perpetrator. Perhaps the most suspicious person in this case is the suspect that the police had suspected and arrested, Miyazaki Manabu. First, one must look at the connection between him and his father, who was also a Yakuza boss. With such a position, one can see that the suspect was fully capable of using members of the gang to carry out the terrorist acts. As for his alibi, it only showed that he was not present at the Ezaki house during the initial kidnapping. The simple explanation for this is that the person who carried out the kidnapping did not necessarily have to be Miyazaki but could have been his father's henchman. The motive for the crime in the case may have been the suspect's dissatisfaction with Glico's environmental destruction through wastewater dumping, as well as their business dishonesty. After analyzing the terrorist acts of the monster with 21 faces, it can be seen that the group's purpose was probably not to intentionally harm the Japanese people but was entirely aimed at the company. Looking at the letters sent, the language also somewhat reflects the people's desire to fight against authority. Many believe that after the case, the suspect finally decided to turn himself in and destroy all the evidence. The mystery surrounding the suspect's disappearance remains one of the most mysterious cases in Japanese criminal history. The Monster with 21 Faces organization was then disbanded, leaving no clue behind and becoming a dangerous mystery that could not be solved.